Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson. Been looking forward to our special guest today. Seamus Bruner is the director of the research at the Government Accountability Institute and a leading investigative research behind several New York Times best-selling sellers with Peter Schweizer. He is the author of several books, including Fallout, and all kinds of good things there, where he talks about various articles, the secret deals and the globalist plot of dominate your life. He has a website, and it's SeamusBruner.com. So hopefully get all that straightened out. Seamus, good to see you. Thanks for your time. Sorry about the difficulties there. How are you doing today?
No problems. Great to be with you, Perry. How are you?
Good, good. A lot going on today. Wow, your resume is pretty impressive. Hey, so here we are, a little over a week now past an amazing event in our country and the loss of an amazing person. Do you think there will be more investigation into the murder of Charlie Kirk beyond just the Robertson person?
Yeah, well, there has to be. I mean, we have to find out how he got radicalized to the point that he would use violence and take out such a American hero as Charlie Kirk. I mean, this is the lone wolf thing. I mean, they're pushing that pretty hard. But when they released the transcript of the messages between Robinson and his roommate slash lover, it to me it reeks to high heaven. It seemed like Robinson was staging this, like this was a sort of a scripted conversation in order to absolve the roommate. I don't know that, but he did acknowledge and slip up there when he messaged the roommate that, remember how I was engraving the bullets? And he engraved one of them with, hey, fascist, catch, meaning, he's going to shoot it at a fascist, he believed. And so the roommate is whether he's cooperating or what, I mean, I think that there's definitely some foreknowledge going on there. And then, of course, you have all of these Discord and chat rooms that the guy is in. The one that the Washington Post released seemed like they did not know about it, but he was in a number of groups. And then as far as the video gaming community, I mean, we've found, there were references on the bullets to gaming that gamers would use. And so the investigation has to continue. I don't think that it's like we got him, shut it all down now. And we know that the FBI is investigating one of these groups, Armed Queers of Salt Lake City. This group has been disparaging of Charlie Kirk or Turning Point USA in the past. They're a violent Marxist group. They went down to Cuba to receive revolutionary Marxist training in collaboration with groups by this foreign billionaire who lives in China, Neville Roy Singham, who has a long history of fomenting unrest in our country, from the BLM riots to the anti-ICE riots, the pro-Hamas riots in New York City on October 8th. So this guy, Neville Roy Singham, I mean, the foreign connection here to training Marxist groups to overthrow our country, that needs to be investigated. And I know that it is. Chairman Comer of the House Oversight Committee has sent a letter to the Treasury Department seeking to freeze Neville Roy Singham's assets, not in connection with the Kirk assassination, I want to be clear, but just in, as acting as a foreign agent of one of America's top adversaries and fomenting all kinds of unrest here.
So Seamus, why are we so quick to say he was alone, he's alone, we got him, he operated independently? We did it with him. The governor came out and said that, and we still haven't gotten to the bottom of the attempted assassination of President Trump at Butler.
That's a great question. I think every American wonders why and how this kind of thing happens. And if he is truly a lone gunman, then release all of the correspondences. I feel like there's a lot of information that's being held back, and I understand that in an ongoing investigation, you don't want to tip your hand. But if we get a year out like we have with Butler and we don't know anything about this guy, the conspiracy theories will run wild, and officials have no one to blame but themselves for keeping things so hidden for so long.
I'm still uncomfortable talking about it because it's still so raw, but there is a question that keeps popping up, and that is that it was one shot, one single bullet. I'm trying to figure out how does a 22-year-old learn how to shoot a 30-06 bolt action so accurately.
It's exactly right. I mean, I hear both takes. People who fire, are pretty proficient with firearms and rifles and hunters. And they say, oh, that was an easy shot. I disagree. I mean, I own plenty of firearms and rifles and go to the gun range frequently. You could hit that shot, but under the pressure, the angle, and the distance to do it with one shot and not take multiple shots I hate to use the word impressive, but it is a skilled shot. So that takes a lot of training, a lot of going to the gun range. Apparently his grandmother didn't think he knew how to fire a gun. So there's a disconnect here. That's the major question. How on earth did he learn this without his family knowing?
Is there potential complicit action here? The family just didn't track it even though they saw it?
Yeah, I mean, the family turned him in or helped turn him in. So I wouldn't want to use complicity, but it's I don't know the family. I don't know the relationship, how much time they spent with him. But surely there has to be signs when you're going to go to such extreme lengths and that you are so hate-filled yourself that you would shoot somebody. I mean, really the greatest among us on the right. Who used words and debate. I mean, everybody claims that all they want is debate, and on the left and right, they claim that they want, in a democracy, we just debate the ideas. Well, there's increasingly tragic numbers of people taking action mostly from the left and believing that violence can be used to achieve political ends.
I want to go over to something President Trump has now announced, that Antifa will be considered a domestic terrorist group. Okay, does that set up, since they've been diagnosed or designated, as a terrorist organization, does that set up investigation and perhaps criminal action on those who support them?
Yeah, it absolutely does. I'm a little uncomfortable with the word domestic terrorism, just for obvious reasons that in the wrong hands of the wrong administration, it can be used to target, let's say, Catholics or pro-life people. That being said, I was reading there's this very progressive left-wing organization called the Brennan Center for Justice. And I was reading through their articles. They have countless articles about how to use domestic terrorism laws against right-wingers and all of the many things that you could do to disrupt the right-wing networks. So there's blueprints that the left has used that they created for how to, and it involves going after supporters. It involves going after especially the funders. I think that's the number one thing that needs to be targeted, is who is funding all of this chaos, because we see not only is it people like George Soros and the other major progressive left-wing billionaire-backed foundations, but you also have foreign funding coming in, and it's Neville Roy Singham, this China-based financier of radical left Marxist communist causes, who again funded anti-ICE riots, BLM riots, the pro-Hamas riots in New York. This guy needs to be targeted, and he is, by investigation. Chairman Comer is referring his assets to be seized to the Treasury Department.
So we know that these U.S.-based activist groups are taking trips to Cuba, allegedly receiving this kind of training. If we know that, why haven't we stepped in?
It's a great question. I mean, that Armed Queers of Salt Lake City was not the first delegation to go get this training in Cuba. Over 740 delegations of U.S.-based organizations and activists have been brought down for this Mayday Brigade. Venceramos Brigade are the name of the entities. Got close ties to Cuban intelligence and foreign governments like China. By the way, Cuba used to be kind of a Soviet outpost for decades. That people think of Cuba as the Russians are there. It has been more or less taken over by China and its agents like Neville Roy Singham. And so now we've got a CCP outpost 90 miles from our border. So it absolutely it needs to be disrupted. I do know that Secretary Rubio and the State Department are very passionate about preventing communist Marxist training. The State Department actually just did the other day cease all funding that a prior administration had authorized to this group in Utah affiliated with the Armed Queers of Salt Lake City founder. Shocking that there would be State Department money going to an entity so radical. But Secretary Rubio is taking it seriously and has cut ties to that organization.
So what do we do with a guy like Singham? How do we stop him?
And you freeze his assets. You charge him with various crimes, unregistered foreign agent of a foreign government like China. You revoke the tax exempt status of his foundations. He's got this thing, the People's Forum in New York. That's the kind of the hub of where all of the funding to the other radical groups in the country go to. There's a number of tools in the toolbox, and it appears the administration's willing to take this seriously, as they should.
Are NGOs tied up in this money laundering?
An innumerable number. We've got spreadsheets of thousands of entities that get funding from these radical donor-advised funds and billionaire-backed NGOs.
Is Soros part of that group?
Yeah, for sure.
Wow. All right, let me take a quick break. I got some more questions. Check out his website, SeamusBruner.com. There's a picture of the landing page. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back, and honored to have with us today Seamus Bruner. Hopefully, am I pronouncing that right?
You are, Perry. Thank you.
Okay, because the R's in the wrong place. Anyway, he's the director of research at the Government Accountability Institute. So many things to talk about. I got to get you back. But let me shift you over to a book you wrote dealing with the term, kind of interesting term, Controligarchs. What in the world is this?
It's a word I made up. It actually was the #1 word of the year in Australia. A controligarch is a extremely wealthy individual who wants to control your life. So the people there on the cover are Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, George Soros, and Klaus Schwab, the former chairman of the World Economic Forum, which is now, of course, going to be led by Larry Fink, the head of BlackRock. BlackRock gets its own chapter in the book. And so it's all these people. They have a combined net worth of well over $1 trillion, a couple of trillion, maybe even upwards of $10 trillion personal net worth of the characters in this book. Shocking numbers. I mean, more than many countries' GDPs just for people to have. The companies mentioned in this book are these globalist multinational corporations who do not have your best interests in mind. And so the book talks about the takeover and control of the food and agriculture sector by people like Bill Gates and his war on farmers, war on health, and then you move kind of from the basic stuff like food and shelter, housing market takeovers, into the more insidious stuff like the takeover of your mind using the corporate press and these tech companies just pumping out through the algorithms all kinds of bad information and brainwashing people. And it kind of closes into the dystopian present. We're moving into this transhumanist era. Very, very much against that, as I'm sure you are, Perry. Mind-machine mergers are just, they don't sound like a recipe for success. They sound like they're going to lead to more control by people who don't care about you or your family.
All right. Pretty alarming stuff, but I want to come back to a couple of questions that kind of eat this elephant one bite at a time. Do you see the World Economic Forum beginning to fall apart?
Yeah, I mean, there's been, it's had a long reign, but this happens time and again where they'll just rebrand in something else. I mean, it's not the organization, and we see this with the NGOs and the Soros-backed groups and things like Antifa. Once they get exposed, they just change their name and they become some other thing, and it will be the Forum for Global Harmony or something. The point is these people who do not respect American sovereignty or the U.S. Constitution. They want a one world totalitarian government. They will continue to meet in secret. And then eventually it will become less and less secret. And then they'll have to form a new secret club.
Okay, I want to come back to the agricultural part of this. Got personal interest in this, but always been alarmed by it, and I've been very alarmed that we're allowing China to buy agricultural land. How does Bill Gates get involved in farmland?
Well, it's an excellent chapter, the War on Farmers chapter, and it's kind of interesting because people wonder to themselves, well, what does a tech nerd, a software guy, know about farming? The answer is nothing, but he knows a lot about anti-competitive business practices. Microsoft was famously investigated for antitrust, and as a part of the Microsoft antitrust file, I unearthed something that was really interesting. It was called the Embrace, Extend, Extinguish strategy that Microsoft employed, where it would enter into a new field. The example given is the browser, the internet browser industry. It would embrace the standards of the time and say, look, we're nothing to see here. We're just making our own product. They would extend their reach throughout that market, installing the Internet Explorer browser on every single computer. You couldn't get rid of it. And then extinguish that, or in Bill Gates used the term exterminate. They would exterminate the competition. In this case, it was Netscape. They would change the standards so that things like, let's say, an internet video wouldn't play as well on a competitor's browser. That's the no good. That's not a good business practice, where if Windows users can't use other people's products. So that's what got them into trouble. What does this have to do with farming? He's doing the same thing in farming. He's embracing the standards. Look, I'm not trying to disrupt anything here. I'm just buying a bunch of farmland. He's extending his reach. He's now one of the largest private owners of farmland in the country, tens of thousands of acres just down the road here in North Florida. Now we get to the exterminate phase, which is where he changes the standards. He puts into place, using lobbying and his large NGO influence network, new standards, ones that target traditional forms of agriculture, saying that methane from cattle, for example, is going to kill the planet, even though he's flying around the world on his private jet with, wanton abandon of the environment.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with the soils and the nutrients. He's already patented a bunch of seeds, fertilizers. He's got deals with Monsanto and other big agrochemical businesses, making it so that farmers cannot turn a profit anymore. And you see this all the time. He's not exactly. It's just too hard to turn a profit as a farmer. Many family-owned farms, generation-owned farms can't keep up with the climate change regulations that people like Bill Gates are pushing.
Yeah, I guess we could take off on that for a long time. I'm just wondering if we understand what you just said, because what's at stake here is our food supply. And if we're going to allow China to buy farmland and guys like him to buy farmland and then shut it down, how do we expect to feed America?
No, it's a great question, and he's also invested in these. A big industry he's going into is the so-called alternative protein industry. Now, thankfully, he's got Beyond Meat, Impossible Burgers. He's got a fake butter company, a fake milk company. All of these fake protein companies. It's disgusting. It's evil, in my opinion. You can't make a better milk or a better burger than God already created. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, most people are rejecting him. That's encouraging. People don't like fake meat, it turns out. But he also is ratcheting up the regulations on ranchers and others, so that and just all throughout the supply chain, so that when you go to the grocery store and you want to buy yourself a nice ribeye, it's outside a lot of people's price ranges. I mean, $30, $40 for a ribeye is crazy. And so it'll take time to get normalized, but eventually people will say, well, either they're not going to eat meat or they will eat the fake meat company. He's playing a long game here. Is
RFK a thorn in his side?
Yeah, I applaud Secretary Kennedy for the Maha agenda. It needs to go further, but it's on a great track.
Okay, so much to talk about, a little time. So back to the overall research of tracking people inside our country that is sponsoring this unbelievable. I think we're having a hard time, Seamus, getting our head around that people are paying people to kill people. I think we're having a hard time getting our head around this. Where do you think this goes?
Well, the entire ecosystem needs to be exposed and disrupted, and it begins in the grade schools, and even before that with things like Drag Queen Story Hour, and then all throughout, primary, secondary school, and then into college. You've got these teachers who are possibly members of Antifa themselves. I mean, the number of teachers who've been celebrating Charlie Kirk's death publicly. I mean, it's shocking that they would do it publicly, but then, of course, the number privately, I mean, the publicly is just a tip of an iceberg. And then they are pumping these kids' minds full of damaging stuff. The curriculum needs to be completely rewritten, back to the basics, essentially. You don't need to reinvent what works. Go back to what we were teaching kids 100 years ago, and they'll probably be all right. None of this social emotional learning, DEI stuff where your feelings are all that matters, moral relativism, and that you can basically identify as a furry or anything you want.
Yeah.
That's scrambling kids' minds and is creating a mental health crisis.
One last question. I noticed that your Controligarchs book cover did not include Elon Musk. What's your take?
Well, I applaud Elon Musk for a lot of things that he's done. He is all throughout the book. I mean, he's in the energy control power grab chapter. He's also in the dystopian present chapter. That's the latter chapter 9 for things like Neuralink. I am not a fan of putting microchips in people's brains.
Yeah.
You know, I know that they'll tout the helping a quadriplegic or someone who can't talk, and that's wonderful. But Elon Musk has stated his goal is to chip everybody, upload brains to the cloud, and that's alarming stuff. So there's some good and bad with Musk.
Good. Where can they get a copy of your book?
Yeah, so the website for the book is Controligarchsbook.com. That's where you can buy it without giving Jeff Bezos any cut of the proceeds. It is on Amazon. I understand, it's very hard to avoid Amazon.
Yeah.
It's so easy and convenient. But if you want to support independent booksellers, there are links on the website, Controligarchsbook.com, and that's the word control and the word oligarchs smashed together. It's a portmanteau.
Yeah, it's a great blend of word. I commend you on it. I read this 3 times to make sure I had it right. There's a picture of the cover of the book. Seamus, you're fascinating. Let's stay connected. God bless you, my friend. Stay in there.
Yeah, God bless you, Perry. Thank you.
Okay.